Right, I'm here with Gareth Dyer, um, new director of rugby for Preston Grasshoppers this season. So Gareth, new role for yourself this season. How's that been going so far?
It's been busy. Off season is always a busy time. It's I suppose a continuation of what I've been doing for the last few years. Really, you know, you get a title, and obviously from time to time it's worth just clarifying what you do. But obviously, what I've done for the last 3 or 4 years is now coming together under this director of rugby role, and it just means that I've got a few areas obviously that is my responsibility, and obviously Mike, as chairman of rugby, is looking at more the wider area of the club, whereas I'm looking at the senior squad, and helping the coaches settle into their roles.
Okay, so as well as changes within the rugby management structure, obviously we've got changes within the coaching setup. How's that been going in pre-season?
Very positive. Mike Luff obviously is now head coach. That was a process which we took our time over, but it was apparent to myself and Mike that an internal appointment was the way forward. Luffy is a very organised individual, very driven. He knows the club inside out, and he's obviously widely respected by players and management alike. So, Mike has gone really well the first few weeks. The training's been intense, it's been sharp. Players, I think, know where they stand, which is always important, and he's certainly taken to it in the way we thought he would.
Okay, so that's obviously Mike Luff as head coach. Below Mike, there's also been a couple of changes there. Do you tell us about those?
Yeah, obviously we've got two player coaches. Obviously Carl Fitzpatrick's been with us now. This will be his third season. He's obviously been involved with the coaching, for the last 2 seasons. But obviously we've added Alan Holmes as well as a player coach. It was something we had in mind to do last year. Myself and Dave Bolden, when he was obviously head coach, spoke about bringing Alan into a role within the coaching network. So that was just a straightforward appointment, really. Alan and Carl obviously going to continue to play, so it's obviously been important that they have somebody like Mike Luff, who can do the overseeing, and obviously particularly in terms of on match days. Luffy will be in charge of our preparation, decision making, and obviously calls that need to be made from the touchline.
And also, obviously with Mike moving up from the second team, Mike Luff, that's left sort of a gap within the second team. Is there any plan there to bring someone new in, or what's going to happen there?
Yeah, obviously we've made an appointment. We brought John Young in. He'll be well known to a lot of Hoppers supporters. John's been a player here on 3 different spells. He came through the Colt system. Obviously went to Hutton Grammar School, so he's a local lad. He's been playing and coaching away at Sedgley Park. He was very keen to get involved with coaching, and we just felt that he was a good person to bring in. He's doing his coaching badges at the moment. So John is somebody who has fitted pretty seamlessly into that, and he's obviously going to run the second team with AD Jeb. So obviously John will hopefully build on what Mike put in place last year, because the second team remains something that's very important to us.
Excellent. Obviously in the media, the last sort of, even today, there was a story regarding Sean Long. He was excellent for the club last year, especially when he moved to fly half in that great run we had at the end of the season. Could you clarify what's happening with Sean? Is he going to be playing this season, or is he sort of signed rugby league and he won't be back? What's the situation there?
Well, first and foremost, Sean will be playing for us next season. He's committed to playing obviously as much as he can. Obviously, as everyone's aware, Sean's day job is that he's assistant coach at Salford City Reds in Super League. The situation's changed slightly for Sean there, in the fact that Salford actually sold a player to Wigan, a halfback, and obviously Sean is somebody who obviously has played in that position throughout his rugby league career. Salford have taken the step of registering him as a player, but pretty much it is a case of, if there is a run of injuries, or they are short of numbers, then Sean will become available to play for them. But Sean has trained throughout pre-season with ourselves. He's committed to doing that, but obviously Salford is his bread and butter. That's his main focus. So it'll be pretty much the same arrangement that we've had with Sean throughout last season, that he will play and train with Preston as much as he can, but obviously his day job comes first.
Excellent, thanks for clearing that up. Just going back to pre-season, there's a few rumours been doing the rounds about a certain rugby consultant working with the coaching team. Could you clear that up for us?
Yeah, it's obviously been a lot of talk about this, but it's a case that Brian Ashton has been doing sessions, or has done a session so far, and has more arranged to do in pre-season. Brian left Fylde at the end of last year to take up a role with Kukri. Kukri are obviously our kit sponsor. They provide all our match kit and match wear. And as part of that arrangement, obviously Brian is made available to Kukri clubs to come and take sessions. So that was sort of the way it came about. But obviously speaking to Brian, because he's in this area, obviously he still lives in Lytham, he was keen to take more sessions, and fortunately we've been able to come up with an arrangement which will allow him to take regular sessions throughout the season. So yeah, Brian's done one so far. He's going to do another one in the next couple of weeks, and then we're looking at hopefully him doing a session each month throughout the season.
Excellent. Moving away now from sort of the coaching setup and looking at players, are you able to confirm any ins and any outs that have happened so far over pre-season?
Yeah, it's been a slightly different approach this summer, to be honest. People always view this part of the year as a clamour for new faces, a clamour for new people to come into this squad, and obviously we are always looking for new players. We have got some players already signed for next season, and we're also looking at one or two other players in terms of guys who are training with us at the moment, and obviously young lads who are coming through. It's probably not right of me to announce those just yet because we're still waiting on the paperwork to go through, but rest assured, in the positions that we wanted to bring people in, we have. It's a case of, I suppose, we did a lot of recruiting last year. We brought in a lot of new faces, and based upon the way we finished the season and the strength of the squad that we had, I think instead of us having to go out and bring in a lot of new faces, we felt that we already had a good squad in place. So it's just been a case of supplementing that. It's not been a case of us having to go out and panic and try and recruit an entire new team. So we've been fairly relaxed with that, to be fair. One or two players have moved on. We're disappointed to lose those players. Matt Charters, who's played with us for the last 2 years, has moved out the area of work. So he's joined Tynedale, which is going to be closer to where he's living up in Cumbria now. Obviously everybody knows about Nathan Foles. Nathan's obviously a Sale player, played extremely well for us last year, but it was always a case that at the end of the season he would go back to Sale. Sale have decided they would like him to play at a different club for this season, and we're obviously, whilst disappointed to lose Nathan, we quite understand it's the best in his best interests. And obviously certain players who've been with us for a long period have also moved on. Mark Edwards has moved to Stockport. Mark is obviously works and lives down in the Manchester area. Mark Irving is moving overseas. He's got to take an opportunity to go and play in Ireland. Chris Loudon, again, somebody who's played a lot of rugby with us in the last few years, has moved to Blackburn to be an assistant coach. Tom Smith, obviously again a very good sort of squad player. Tom, who's probably had limited opportunities last year, felt that he needed to move on to improve his game, and we were disappointed to lose him, but quite understand his situation. So there's been a few players perhaps who felt that their chances were limited who've moved on, which gives us perhaps a more scope next year to develop younger players in the second team, and hopefully they can then grasp the nettle and sort of move into first team in due course.
Excellent. You touched upon it there again. End of last season we had a really good run. Won something along the lines of nearly 10 games on the bounce towards the end of the season. Just missed out on promotion. Is that a goal for the squad this season?
I think you're always looking to improve. So obviously you would say that finishing third last year, if we're going to improve on our league standing, then obviously we have to be pushing for the top 2 places, which is obviously automatic promotion and the playoff place. I think it's going to be a tough year. I think the clubs that have come down are going to be strong. I think Stourbridge in particular, looking at who they've brought on board, are going to be strong. And I think there's a lot of clubs, if we look at last season, when we got to the last month, there was 5 clubs fighting it out for the playoff place. So I expect those clubs obviously to come back stronger. So it's going to be hard, but that's not to say that we aren't going to improve ourselves and try and push on. I think ultimately what we want to see is that we remain competitive at the top end of the table, because for too long we were perhaps targeting mid-table security with no real ambition to go anywhere. But I think that's now changed. I think we have a squad that can compete, can handle the demands of a season, and within that squad we have a lot of quality, and I would hope that we will be competing at the right end of the table again.
Good. And finally, we're now sort of a month away from the start of the season. First game, Darlington Moden Park on the 1st of September. What sort of games are lined up ahead of that to get the squad ready?
Well, it's a bit subjective in a way how many games you need in pre-season. We did go with the original thought that we'd want two warm-up games. So we did have a game with Sale FC penciled in mid-August. Unfortunately, that game's not now going ahead. Sale have got other commitments that they can't honour the fixture. But we are playing Tyndale at Lightfoot Green on the 25th of August, and that'll be a game for both the first and second team. So both teams will get hit out on the 25th of August. We have had a look at perhaps another fixture. We've sounded out certain clubs of probably the similar level or league below, but there's nothing really in the pipeline that took our eye really. So we may have an in-club in-squad sort of trial match, which will be useful to put players against each other who are competing for positions. But I think we've been mindful that the rugby season is a long season. It's a hard slog. It's a lot of travelling, a lot of training, and the period between the end of last season and the start of this one seems to get shorter and shorter. So with that in mind, I think we've got to be mindful that we don't want to be playing excessive numbers of games in pre-season, and we don't want the lads to be sort of almost burnt out before the season begins. So we've been again pretty relaxed in that. We're quite happy to train hard, have a tough game with Tyndale, because I'm pretty sure they'll come down and bring a strong squad. And if we feel as we get closer that we need perhaps another fixture, then we will perhaps try and find somebody. But at the moment, I think a trial match and a good, strong, competitive game with Tyndale should be about right before we start on the 1st of September.